Hello friends and welcome back. Today's episode is about one of my favorite topics, which is the Cabinet of Curiosities. It's a new series and in continuation of our theme on how to use our notebooks as an entertaining self-learning method. We will cover this topic by answering three main questions. The first one is, what is a Cabinet of Curiosities? Obviously, in brief, it's all about collecting, cataloging, and studying the exotic wonders of our physical world. Things that you find yourself curious about and you are interested to investigate, categorize, and study. So for us to easily remember this definition, we can call it COC for Cabinet of Curiosities equal COD, which is collect, observe, and describe. The second question is, why you may be interested in building a Cabinet of Curiosities, like how can you really benefit from this concept? Well, the answer is very simple. A Cabinet of Curiosities pretty much intersects with many, if not all, exciting disciplines such as archaeology, anthropology, art and antiquities, natural history and herbology, certainly engineering and medicine. So if you are in general a curious person who wishes to develop an observant eye, ask questions about the topics of your interest, whatever that is, learn the answers, you can certainly benefit from this concept. The third question, which is the most important, is how we're going to encapsulate this notion, how we're going to practically build a cabinet and learn from it. To answer this question, I want you to picture with me that your general knowledge is a building. And that building is founded on two main pillars. The first is the physical collection, and the second pillar is the notebook, which I will share with you in a few seconds. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is your physical collection, which is basically your encyclopedic collection. So maybe the first thing that will cross your mind, where will I store my collection? Where will I store my findings? Well, in this book and also many ideas online, you can start with a small box. There are so many ideas here with materials and ideas reachable for most of us. Of course, if this is something you like doing, you can have, like me, a furniture with drawers and shelves. What type of objects you typically add into your Cabinet of Curiosities? Number one, it can be natural objects. So basically plants that you will probably learn how to preserve. It can be rocks, seashells, gemstones, any natural object that you collect from any place you visit. The second type is a man-made item. So this is usually artifacts of certain significance or somehow related to a topic you are interested to study. For example, I have here this papyrus, which is made from the same material and method used in ancient Egypt. So having this item into my collection helps me to examine it closely and learn more from it. The third type of object you will have in your cabinet is a replica of a natural object, typically like a fossil. So in many cases, we are not allowed to pick one if we come across a natural preserve. So having a good replica helps you to maybe study the shapes and some apparent properties from it. Also, a replica of natural objects can be very useful if you are studying human anatomy. So, in general, the key advantage of having this physical collection is that it allows you to examine and observe an item at different times and in different states of mind, which help you to study the subject matter from different angles, and it activates your imagination. Now, back to our general knowledge building. The second pillar is the Cabinet of Curiosities notebook, which I dare to say is even more important than the physical collection, because this is where we preserve our investigative notes. So I dedicated this notebook, and I did actually call it the Cabinet of Curiosities Journal. I'm a bit inspired from medieval and Renaissance books where they have this artistic or illustrative front page. It makes it more entertaining for me, but this is 100% optional. What matters is the knowledge and the visual illustrations you have in the notebook. I also have this little key as a metaphor that I'm about to open my cabinet. The first type of information I add into this notebook is the investigative notes I have in relation to the physical items I actually have in my collection. So let me share with you a couple of examples. Over here, I have a spread with all my investigative and observation notes that I learned from visiting the Meteora city in Greece. The first part is I have a visual illustration for the site itself, which is very special due to the unique rock formations and also the medieval monasteries that crowns the hills over there. If you don't want to draw, you can also add a well-taken picture to be a good representation of the site. The opposite page is where I catalog and describe the items I actually collected from the site. So the first thing you notice, I have some natural items such as this rock over here. I also have this small pine cone with an acorn. And obviously those are special because they are picked up from that very unique site. So this is natural objects. I also make sure to label all the items and maybe provide a brief description or any observation that I have. So this is an example of natural items. I also have a man-made item from this collection, which is this honey wax candles. This item here had a lot of interesting facts that we learned from the tour guide over there. And having this item by itself in the collection doesn't actually tell the story. What does is to have a visual representation and adding this knowledge. So this way you can preserve the information you learned about. And not to mention that throughout history, many of this collection, the physical collection, got destroyed or stolen. But what really preserves it is to have it in your notebook. So a good tip from this spread, I will say, to have a small table with the inventory of the items. And by the way, one of those items is actually a book. So I consider this book part of my Curiosities collection. It has very valuable information about the site itself. Another example I have on how I log notes for items that I actually have in my physical collection is this rock collection. So I collected different rocks from different group of islands in Greece. And the first thing I do is a very basic visual illustration to capture the main colors and shapes. And then I label them by numbers following the same number, tag number I have on the jar. If you don't have the metal, you can have just a piece of paper. So this is, I catalog it according to what I really have in the physical collection. Now that I have my collection and I took my time meditating on it, I have some observations to make. My personal notes is that I noticed some change in color and shapes of the rocks associated to certain geographic location. And this is a good tip from this spread, that you can associate your notes with a geographic location and have just a basic map. This is for the natural items. I also have notes about the statue of Aphrodite that is currently located in the Louvre, because I did pass by the island and the location this statue was originally found. So you see, it's a mix between man-made items and also natural items of certain significance. The second type of information you can have in your Cabinet of Curiosities notebook is any topic that you are curious about or you perceive as wondrous, something phenomenal in our physical world. For example, I have this spread dedicated for the Fibonacci sequence, which I found very interesting. We can see it in shells, we can see it all the way in the layout of the galaxies, in trees, in flowers, everywhere around us. So I thought this is very curious, very exotic, and the perfect place to preserve some knowledge or add some basic information about this phenomena is my Cabinet of Curiosities notebook. You can also be very curious about any particular creature that you didn't see in reality yet. For example, I have this spread about the seahorse hippocampus. I found it very interesting, this creature, and I don't remember seeing anyone yet in real life. I certainly don't have anything of it in my physical collection, but I wanted to add all the exotic facts about this creature through this very basic anatomical sketch. So basically, this notebook covers beyond your collected items. It contains notes about any exotic topic, anything you are curious about learning and you perceived as wondrous. This is actually the introduction episode about this Cabinet of Curiosities. There is a lot of more information to share, but I will conclude it with this statement. I believe it was written in this book. Anyone can have a Cabinet of Curiosities, and I think everyone should. And remember, you can put whatever you like in your own cabinet. So I'm very eager to hear your comments if this is something you relate to. But I strongly encourage you to consider building one, because it will preserve and enhance your general knowledge. And thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.